Hello. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to use Viewport Shading panel. Let's get started the lecture. Sometimes we may want to display the objects in a different shading mode in the 3D viewport. In order to change the shading mode, we can use the buttons at the top right corner in the 3D viewport. Right now, the scene is being displayed in solid mode. Solid shading usually is used for modeling. Wireframe mode can be used to display the topology of the meshes. Material preview mode is used to display materials and textures of the objects. Render preview mode is used to display how to interact the materials and textures with the light. This is the final preview to get render. We can also press C key, and switch the shading modes with this pie menu. Let's switch to solid view again. In the solid mode, the objects are being rendered as solid, and it uses customized studio lighting. It ignores any other lights you have in the scene, and just uses a built-in lighting setups. There is also a drop-down shading menu. When we open this menu, we can see the studio lighting method is being used. We can choose different studio lighting setups that is customized before. We can also customize the studio lighting. To do this, we can click on the gear icon. It will take us to user preferences. We can also reach this preferences by clicking on Edit menu, go down to Preferences, and click on the Lights tab. Click on the Edit Studio Light button. So, we can customize the studio lights. For example, we can change the direction and colors of the studio lights. We can disable any studio light we want. We can also save the new customized studio lights. Let's click on the Edit Studio Light button again, and disable the studio light editing. Close the User Preferences window. As you can see, no matter what perspective we look at the objects from, the lighting follows the camera or view to illuminate the objects. If we click on the World Space Lighting option, it will make the lighting fixed, and not follow the camera and view. We can also change the rotation of the studio light. Let's disable the World Space Lighting option again. The next lighting option is called Matcap. Matcap stands for Material Capture. Matcaps are images that contain lighting and color information. It is a complete material including lighting and reflections, so you can add it to an object. It is most commonly used for sculpting mode, as it gives quick and useful feedback on how an object's shape is changing. You can create your own matcap, or you can find free matcaps to download on the web. In order to import any matcap into Blender, click on the gear icon, and click on the Install button. Choose the matcap you want to import into Blender. Now, we can use the matcap we have just imported. The last lighting method is the flat. This essentially does not calculate any lighting. Instead, it just uses the color of the objects. Let's select the sofa, click on the Material Properties tab. Scroll down to Viewport Display section, and change the color. As you can see, it is being rendered as flat colored shape. We can also change the color of the other objects in the scene. Now, if we switch to Matcap or Studio Lighting, the viewport display color is affecting those lighting options as well. Because the color type is set to Material option. If we switch to Object, the Material viewport display won't affect the color of the objects. Instead, the object colors will be affecting everything. In order to change object color, select the sofa, click on the Object Properties tab. Scroll down to Viewport Display section, and change the color. So, the object color is affecting this lighting option, but also the other ones as well. Attribute shows the active color attribute of an object. When an object has no active color attribute, it will be rendered in the color set in the Viewport Display Object panel. Single option allows us to choose single color for all scene. If we switch to random option, it will show all objects in different colors randomly. If we switch to texture option, it will display image textures on the objects in solid shading mode. This can be useful for a quick preview of how your image textures look on your object. Note that this will only display the image texture that is selected. Let's select the sofa, and click on the shading workspace. Diffuse map is selected right now, so it will display the diffuse map on the sofa. If we select the roughness map, it will display the roughness map on the sofa. If we select the normal map, it will display the normal map on the model. Let's switch to Layout tab again. We can also change the background color. For the background color, we have three options. The default is Theme. In order to change the theme, go to Edit menu, go down to Preferences. Click on the Themes tab, 3D Viewport, scroll down to Theme Space section. Go to Gradient Colors section, and change the gradient low and high values. If we switch to World option, the background will use the world's viewport display color. Let's click on the World Properties tab, go to Viewport Display section, and change the color. The last option is Viewport. We can pick any background color here. Let's set the background color type to Theme again. The Backface Culling option allows us to display only front side of the faces, not the back side. Let's add a plane object. There are two sides of the plane, front and back side. If we enable the Backface Culling option, the back face of the plane won't be seen and drawn. This can be useful to speed up the viewport screen. Let's disable the Backface Culling option again. If we enable the X-ray option, it will make everything transparent based on this percentage. Or, we can press Alt-Z to switch to X-ray mode. X-ray mode extremely important for modeling. For example, let's select the vase, press numpad 1 to switch to front view. Press Tab key to switch to edit mode. Let's select top vertices. As you can see, we can select only front side vertices. Press Alt-Z to switch to X-ray mode. Select the vertices again. Now, we can select and edit the backside vertices as well. Also, we can see the vertices behind the surface. If we enable the shadow option, the objects will cast the shadow in the viewport. The shadow settings allow us to test how the light interact with our object in real time. We can adjust the strength of the shadow. If we click on the gear icon, we can adjust the direction of the shadow as well. We can also adjust hardness and softness of the shadow here. Shadow option can be very useful together with the next option, which is cavity. Many 3D sculptors use these settings together with a matcap. When we enable the cavity option, it will add extra shading to objects, to clearly see details in our models. In the other words, It will basically add extra shadows to cracks and dents on the model. This option provides us a nice ambient occlusion effect. There is a couple of other options for the cavity. The screen option has harder shading effect. When we switch to world, it will give us softer shading. The both option is the combination of the world and screen. We have some extra options down here, the ridges and the valleys. If we increase the ridge value, it will make brighter the sharp points. The valley value makes the crevices darker when we increase this value. The depth of field option only works in camera view. Let's press numpad 0 to switch to camera view. Select the camera, and click on the camera properties tab. Let's enable the depth of field option, and change the focus distance and f-stop values. Choose the vase as focus object. Let's enable the depth field option in the viewport shading panel. As you can see, the camera focus on the vase, and background of the vase becomes blurry. The outline option gives us to have a colored outline on the objects. We can change this outline color. The last option is specular light. It gives us more shiny surface when we enable this option. Thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial.